And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon. It's John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs across the glass.
Greg writes in at johnnydontlikeshow@gmail.com, commenting on Gavin Newsom's latest episode of his podcast. To be fair, anyone that calls Newsom an a-hole obviously knows him.
How do you want me to address you, sir? Governor or Gavin? How do you want
Gavin
me to
works. I mean, I get, walk the streets with me. I'll get ass, I'll get everything. So I'll take Gavin, buddy.
Maybe it was his father-in-law. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, it has officially been 100 days since California voters approved Proposition 36, which repealed much of Prop 47, the soft on crime ballot initiative written by Soros-funded District Attorney George Gascon. And given the fact that it's been 100 days since voters said enough is enough, criminals need to go to jail, we decided it would be good to check in and see how things are going.
Fox 40 in Sacramento sat down with the DA of San Joaquin County to ask specifically, how's it going with 100 days of Prop 36? Here we go.
But another thing that we're talking about, a big movement that happened at the state capitol, was Prop 36. The voters chose it, and here it is now. So more than 30 felony theft cases and more than 20 felony drug cases. That is what the San Joaquin County DA's office has carried out, as we again are seeing almost the...
Those all would have been misdemeanors without 36.
They were handcuffed by the law.
As we again are seeing almost the 100-day mark since the start of Prop 36. And District Attorney Ron Freitas is joining us once again to talk about how this measure is still changing the Central Valley, especially in his district. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having us.
So, okay, you're busy, which
Yes.
is good news,
Yes.
right, in terms of trying to tamp...
I finally can do my job.
Right, in terms of trying to tamp down all these theft cases, all these rampant drug charges that we'd be seeing. What cases have stood out to you the most when you...
Did she just say what we be seeing?
She's going fast.
All these theft cases, all these rampant drug charges that we'd be seeing. What cases have stood out to you the most when you've been looking at these?
It's the repeat offenders, individuals that had racked up 10, 12, 20 different cases and were facing maybe 6 months in jail.
You see, the history of this subject is interesting because the people of California decided to get tough on crime in the 1990s when crime was spiraling out of control. And we passed 3 strikes and you're out. We had sentencing enhancements and sentencing guidelines, those sorts of things. And then we became a victim of our own success. We identified all the bad people and we removed them from society by putting them in prison. And then we decided collectively, not me, but a majority, why are we spending so much money on prisons? We have too many people locked up. Wouldn't it be better if we spent that money on education instead? Wrong. That's not how it works. You always have to put the bad people in prison, and if you don't do that, the bad people will prey on everyone else. We started shutting down the prisons. We started letting everyone out, and look at what we ended up with. Shampoo that you have to buy behind bulletproof glass.
But wait, John. People like Karen Bass and Shang Tao told me if we just have more after-school programs, we'll prevent crime before it starts.
Sure, and if we shut down the prisons, we'll be safer. Figure that one out.
Those cases are now coming in, and we're seeing that they're taking a year in jail on one case, which was sentenced on the day, December 18th, that Prop 36 took effect. Mm-hmm. We had an individual plead to 32 months. He had 20 prior theft offenses from...
Seems low.
20?
20 thefts under his belt, 32 months. He'll probably spend half of that.
But he's a good kid.
He had 20 prior theft offenses from 2022 to 2024. So,
just in 2 years. That's an offense that he got caught for about once a month.
Okay, and you've seen these videos of the Rite Aids getting robbed or the Walgreens getting robbed or CVS or whatever. They don't even bother calling the cops most of the time. If he got caught and arrested 20 times, how many times do you think that guy actually did it?
Well, if you think about the phony baloney statistics that people like George Gascon used to throw around.
Quite frankly.
Hey, he's back on the show. He used to say, when he was trying to keep his job as the DA of Los Angeles, that when it comes to theft or burglary, 85% of the time you're not going to get caught. So you can imagine that if he got arrested 20 times in the span of 2 years, multiply that by a factor of 6 or 7, and he probably committed 100 to 200 of these thefts.
I believe it.
So this is obviously putting a big stop in this individual's life and telling them that we're not going to put up with this anymore.
At least for 32 months. 16 with good behavior. And there's also the other factor that we haven't seen the effects of this yet, because if they're just theft cases, if they're just burglary cases, and they're, quote, nonviolent, even with Prop 36, I'm pretty sure this still falls under AB 109. And if you're a nonviolent felon, that means that your prison sentence gets kicked down to the county jail. And if the county jail is full, it's an ankle monitor for you, and you go home.
Well, and it also doesn't deal with the personnel involved in the system. And you have judges that just don't want anyone to go to jail or prison. And you have parole boards that want to let everyone out. And Prop 36 doesn't touch them.
We had another individual that was in a TJ Maxx with a magnet while the getaway driver was waiting outside. And she was going after the high-end items in there.
Well, it's TJ Maxx. I don't know if there's necessarily any high-end items there, but there are higher-end items than the stuff that's in the bargain bin.
Okay, what's a high-end item at TJ Maxx?
A slightly distressed purse. Maybe it was one of those TJ Maxx / Marshalls / Home Goods.
I guess.
And they were going to steal a sweater and a candle.
So you're just saying it's some item that doesn't have any factory defects.
And she was prosecuted under the new felony charges, and we got a year in jail instead of the...
I mean, the thing is, this is an improvement. A year as opposed to people were not getting any jail time. They were getting tickets.
It's not perfect, but it's better.
Instead of the 6 months that we were facing maximum with regular petty.
Now, the problem I think a lot of people are having is, well, what happens with these people who, again, it's a cycle with them. They get arrested, they go into the jail system, they come back out, they do the same thing over and over again. So the programs, the process that happens after they've been prosecuted, we want to get them back on the straight and narrow. How you guys do that? What programs are you really trying to push through?
You know, that's
whether they do or they don't, at least we get a reprieve from them robbing us for a period of time.
Yeah, whether you are in the mindset of George Gascon that prison doesn't rehabilitate anybody, so we should never put them there, or we've got to put everybody in prison, you can at least honestly argue that while somebody is in prison, they cannot actively commit any more crimes, unless that prison is in Amador County and they're murdering their wife during sex.
And let's just get the idea out of our head that the prisons are going to be these European-style schools. And you're going to be sent to San Quentin for a certain period of time, and you're going to come out playing the cello. Well, that's not going to happen. You know what they're going to do when they're in prison, and that's not going to change. They're going to lift weights. They're going to make a lot of phone calls on illegally obtained cell phones. They're going to do drugs, some sodomy, watching Judge Judy, the usual.
I wonder if there are any radios at San Quentin. Tune into 810, boys.
Well, it's in the listening area.
You know, that's a very good point. What we're working is bringing common sense back to public safety, and we're showing our small businesses that we have their backs, and that paying is no longer optional in San Joaquin County, and
that's a good line.
And that we're open for business. So the individuals that are incarcerated, we have great programs in there, apprenticeship programs, where individuals stay drug-free, get their GEDs, and then come out and are ready to go into the trades. And now, instead of stealing it, they can now pay for it and have a living wage.
Maybe. I'd love that happened.
Very optimistic. It's like taking a glove to a baseball game. That is the height of optimism.
Because, of course, in the state of California, you can go very far on a GED.
What did Chris Rock call it? A good enough diploma?
You can take that to community college, where anyone in the community can go.
And then addiction, too. I mean, a lot of the
Right.
people who are carrying this out, unfortunately, they're suffering from bad addiction issues. Are you helping out with that?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of Prop 36, that it really addresses all three, not just the organized retail theft, but also the homelessness and the addiction component. And by working with our judicial and public safety leaders, we're able to get great strategies to get people on the straight and narrow, progressive, and get them healthy.
Now, we know our governor, not a big fan of Prop 36.
Yes.
In fact, funding has been called into question for this when the budget will come out this summer. A lot of people are worried about that.
And you would consider Prop 36 quite the mandate from the voters when 70% of people who voted say, hey, we want you to put money in the budget for treatment beds for the people that we are arresting for the fentanyl and the meth. And Gavin would say, well, they didn't attach any funding to it. There's no sales tax hike. What are we supposed to do?
I'm kind of surprised that after it passed by the wide margins that it passed by, Gavin did not become a born-again fan of Prop 36. Because when Jerry Brown was governor and he ran for president, he realized that he needed to get to the middle because that was the only way to win the election. And when Prop 13 passed, he opposed it. And then he became a born-again supporter of Prop 13 because he knew it was politically popular. And he didn't want to be the guy that ran against Prop 13 that was one of the most popular initiatives ever in the state of California. So he flipped on it. Gavin Newsom hasn't done that with Prop 36, and that surprises me.
Well, I think Gavin is politically expedient for almost everything, and he'll do whatever he thinks is popular, like what he's doing with the podcast and the trans sports things, except for when it comes to sobriety. I think that's something he's an ideologue on, and he firmly believes there's no such thing as clean and sober. And we know that because he has said it.
Clean and sober is one of the biggest damn mistakes this country's ever made. I know it's a hold your hand idealistic point of view that somehow magically, God bless some of you. If you're like me, I've been known to have a glass of wine at night watching some of the nightly news. We all need to self-medicate periodically.
It's a little close to home for him.
So he doesn't believe treatment works. So he doesn't want to pay for it in his budget.
And that's how we end up with harm reduction.
A lot of counties haven't had the same success as you've had as well in trying to roll out Prop 36 because they don't have enough money. The infrastructure wasn't there to begin with. But are you concerned about that moving forward? Do you think our governor will try to hinder this process at all?
We can only do what we can do, and we're going to proceed forward on this. We've had very good luck reaching out to our business leader. We've toured our Walmart, our Raley's, and our Save Mart. We've talked to their leadership and told them that we're there for them. And from these meetings, Save Mart now is having Operation Appreciation, where a law enforcement officer on their break or on duty can now stop in any Save Mart store in San Joaquin County, get a coffee and a donut. And
okay, that's a stereotype. I love the promotion, but it's a little on the nose.
Well, and keep in mind also, for people who work in law enforcement, Prop 36 has to be like a shot of B12 in the arm. Because when you would show up to work and know that fundamentally the powers that be didn't want you to do your job, it had to be depressing. But now that you can show up and you can do your job, it has to give you some degree of satisfaction.
And they're welcome to it.
And a lot of security efforts. They've been ramped up at a lot of these stores. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever going to see a day that your vitamins aren't behind a plexiglass shield.
It's crazy.
No, that one's never going away. Especially at Target.
How ghetto does it look that they have to lock up the socks?
It's crazy.
But I think in our 100 days, in my recent memory, I don't recall any change in the law that has given our community so much hope and the promise of change for the better. So we're really excited about that, making crime illegal again, and telling people that paying isn't optional and the DA's office is open for business.
Okay, he really likes that line because he's used it twice.
Yeah, I have a feeling he paid someone at a PR firm to come up with it.
Have arrests gone down at all inside the county? Do you know? People are watching this going on. All these arrests that have been made through Prop 36. Do you think criminals are watching this saying, Well, maybe I may think again.
We're looking at that. And I think as the message gets out that we are going to be prosecuting repeat offenders, holding them in custody, and that this is going to have accountability consequences, I expect that arrests will be going down.
Okay, there we go. Ron, thank you so much for joining us again. San Joaquin County DA talking about Prop 36 in the first 100 days since its enactment.
Look at this. Positive change in the state of California. It can actually happen.
And another donut for the cop on the beat. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Chuck writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on the homeless and says, if these homeless people want to check out from society, that's one thing. But destroying honest, hardworking people's standard of living and quality of life is something completely different. Myself, I'm really sick of it. They don't have the right to trample over my right to a decent existence.
Amen, brother. And now that we're approaching the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us all weekend long, Randy, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can go to either of our radio station websites, KABC.com or KSFO.com. Click on podcasts. Get it right there. And the best thing about these podcasts, you can listen to them wherever you are. You can listen to them on the road. You can listen to them while you're working out. You can listen to them when you're doing your job. And, of course, you can listen to them when you're doing a rub-a-dub-dub in the tub.
Scrub it.
Or if you're homeless and you're in the Central Valley, you can bathe yourself using the
fire hydrant.
Yep. I still can't believe that's a thing.
Scrub it.
Now, if you're bathing yourself in front of a fire hydrant, do you have the loofah ready to go and the shampoo?
Don't those fire hydrants have really high water pressure?
Meth makes you very tolerant to pain.
But wouldn't it blow you to the other side of the street? I don't know. Coming up at the end of next week, Randy, we're going on the road.
How exciting is this? We are heading back to Long Beach. Last November, we had one of the best remotes we've ever had at Gladstone's Long Beach, and what do you know? We're doing it again. We're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Gladstone's Long Beach and the 50th anniversary of the Long Beach Grand Prix. Join us next Friday, April 11th, from noon to 3 for Fan Free Friday. We'll be broadcasting live from the beautiful patio right on the Rainbow Harbor in Long Beach. It's gorgeous. The view is amazing, and so is the food. I want those poke nachos again. They're so good. Gladstone's Long Beach is a great location for date night, a delicious get-together with friends, a sunset cocktail, family meals, and celebrations. Gladstone's Long Beach, located directly across from the Pike Shopping Center. Make a reservation and join us next Friday, noon to 3. Look for Gladstone San Diego at Seaport Village this fall.
Let's go to Sam in Los Angeles. Sam, hello.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, John, I got a story for you, and then I got a couple of questions, as I know only you can answer. First of all, you won't believe this, John. You can file this under your Ripley's Believe It or Not category. I'm downtown right now. I have a friend that's homeless down there. He's been down here about 32 years. On 5th Street, about 2 blocks west of Central, they got a place called the Homeless Healthcare Center. And people are sitting right out there on the sidewalk, John, doing drugs right in front of this place. And then they have a little black Jeep that rides around called, I think it's an emergency response team, I guess if somebody OD or whatever and stuff like that. Are you familiar with that, John?
No, but I'm not surprised.
That. Oh, okay. And I said I got to tell John this story. I've been wanting to tell you this for a while because I noticed it some months ago downtown, like off of 7th Street between San Pedro and Central. People, I mean, it's like they're on the sidewalk. I don't mean hiding behind some barrier or in a tent. Right out on the sidewalk like it's legal. Have you never heard anything like that before? Have you ever are familiar with that? Anybody ever told you this story?
Oh, I'm familiar with it. Yeah, they don't hide.
Okay. Right. Okay, and then especially being right in front of the healthcare system center. Now, here's the other one, John. Now, I know you can answer this, John, to anybody. I'm a big news junkie. I know you are, too. Being in the field you are, you have to, read stories and listen to the news. Can you tell me, John, why when you're looking at TV, they'll do a story? Okay, just say if there was a burglary on Sunset Boulevard. Instead of saying we're on the corner of Sunset and Vine, they'll say live from Sunset Boulevard. They never tell you exactly the street, the cross street, the north and south, or the east and west. But then they have the answer. Well, if anybody's seen anything familiar with what happened, call this, that, that. Well, you don't give nobody no direct location, and it burns me up, John. And I know it sounds crazy, but only because I'm a news junkie. So I know you can answer, John. If anybody can answer, I know you can.
Okay, the only thing I can think of, and I've never been a reporter on the beat, so I'm not speaking from experience, but Sunset Boulevard is a street that everyone knows. Other streets, the cross streets, may not be as famous as Sunset, so if you say you're on Sunset Boulevard, everyone knows that street. But if you say I'm at Sunset and, I don't know,
say Vine or
Sweetser,
or anywhere, yeah,
no one's going to know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, don't you think that's one issue? Problem? It's crazy. Like they say, another thing they do, live in the West Adams District, live in South Central, live in Carthay Circle, but you want somebody to turn in these stories, but you don't never give no location, and the report is standing right there in the street there. So I don't understand that. It just burns me up, you know.
Well, maybe the reporter's shady and they don't want to be served.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess if you say so, John. Yeah. Oh, and one more thing, John. Are you familiar with Beverly, the corner of Beverly and La Brea?
Beverly and La Brea. Yeah, that's over by El Coyote.
Well, El Coyote is further down west. You're talking about down there before you get to Fairfax. You're talking about down there by CBS Studios, right? That's where El Coyote is, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it's near Beverly and La Brea.
That's La Brea? Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, I was thinking about Fairfax. My mistake, John. Okay, but now check this out. They got on the corner of Beverly and Brea, they have a Chevron gas station on the northwest corner and a Chevron gas station on the southeast corner. And I've been saying this since last year. I said, I've got to ask John Phillips about this. I've never seen this in my life, John.
Well,
two
how about Starbucks? Sometimes they have Starbucks on three sides of the street, and sometimes they have a Starbucks in the Starbucks. Thank you for the call.
I remember in Studio City on Ventura and Laurel, there was a CVS on one side and a Long's Drugs on the other side. And then CVS bought Long's Drugs. So for a time, there was a CVS across the street from a CVS.
Well, no one in that neighborhood went without a Kit Kat bar.
Now, Sam was talking about, it's interesting. You know how he was so outraged about the homeless people that were doing drugs outside of the homeless health center in Los Angeles? You know why he might be a little confused?
Why?
Because it's not a health center. That's the nonprofit Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles. And Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles is the nonprofit that is funded by Barbara Ferrer that passes out meth pipes on Skid Row. You go in there, you get a meth pipe, and they very well know and are totally fine with drug dealers hanging out right outside of Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles to sell you meth to go with your pipe. And he's right. They go around in little Jeeps for their rapid response team with Narcan and other paraphernalia to help you out in Skid Row.
So I guess it's like if you go to Pink's Hot Dogs, you shouldn't be surprised to see people eating hot dogs outside the hot dog stand.
You go right from going inside, again, very misleading, Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles, getting your pipe, getting your foil, getting your spoon, getting your straw, and then you go outside and maybe you sell one of those pieces to the drug dealer for a $10, and then you can get a 10th of meth.
I love the fact that I can't have a plastic straw for my Coca-Cola at lunch, but that witch can give them out to the drug addicts so they can kill themselves.
That's the epicenter of the harm reduction nonsense in Los Angeles. San Francisco has turned the corner on this. Daniel Lurie is outlawing this practice. Los Angeles doubles down on it. Ferrer is paying for homeless healthcare Los Angeles to destroy Skid Row, make it worse than it already was, and she has teams from that same nonprofit going to Santa Monica and destroying the parks there and destroying the 3rd Street Promenade. We are paying nonprofits to pass out drug paraphernalia.
And you know what's funny is sometimes there are just cycles that the country goes through or the globe goes through where certain issues become apparent and everyone has to deal with them. It's not location specific. If you look at the United States and you look at the problem of drug addiction and homelessness, it really, and to be fair, I'm not going to call it a California problem, but what it is a West Coast problem. Because Portland is just as bad as L.A. and Oakland and San Francisco. Seattle is just as bad. I've heard from people, by the way, that it's starting to get bad up in Alaska, where if you go to Juneau and you go to Anchorage and big cities in the state of Alaska, they're dealing with many of the same issues. I know that they got in trouble at one point for flying their homeless people down here.
I have a friend who's from Alaska, and she used to go up every summer because she worked at a fireworks stand. And you know who buys fireworks in Alaska?
Who?
Meth heads.
That seems about right. But it's a Pacific Coast problem because you know what? You go to Dallas, you don't see it.
They go up to her and they say, "You got anything that go boom?"
I'm guessing it's not because of patriotism.
They might want to blow up a caribou. Well, it's also legal to fish with dynamite there.
Maybe they're doing that. If it's illegal to fish with dynamite up there, that means someone had to do something that made the news where they said, you know what, we need to prohibit that. Fishing with dynamite? What is it, Looney Tunes? You put a stick of dynamite in the whale's blowhole?
Well, they actually have to do that when there's a beached whale. There's no other way to get it out of there.
Yeah, but that's after it's already dead. But you could kill it that way, too, I guess.
You'd have to time that real specific.
Yeah, because if you're on top of the whale, guess what? You go boom, too.
You got anything that go boom?
Meth is a hell of a drug.
Head on down to Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles and get your free meth pipes today.
What did the homeless do in Alaska in the winter? Come here?
Maybe.
Like the swallows of Capistrano.
Maybe they're building igloos and they're smoking meth in there.
I don't
also,
know.
Meth makes you forget that it's cold.
Well, I don't know. There are some questions in this universe I don't know the answer to, and that is one of them. All right. When we come back, we're going to have some sound for you of my appearance on The Issue Is with Alex Michelson and Gloria Allred. Well, yesterday after the program, I taped a segment for Alex Michelson's program, The Issue Is, which airs on KTTV in Los Angeles, KTVU in the Bay Area, and around the state of California. Alex had me on with civil rights attorney Gloria Allred, where we talked about Donald Trump, tariffs, Elon Musk, and, of course, the California governor's race, because Alex Michelson had Javier Baccaria on right before us. And, of course, we weighed in on that. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
You need to bring the problem right to the table with the best experts there. You scrub it, and then whatever is left, whatever's clean and survives, that's what you do.
That's Javier Becerra giving the first TV interview of his campaign to The Issue Is. A few weeks back, Katie Porter gave us the first TV interview of her campaign. Let's talk more about the governor's race now with our panel, Gloria Allred and John Phillips. John, I know you've been following this closely on your show, The John Phillips Show, and often playing our interviews on the show. Your thoughts on the race, specifically the Becerra interview?
Well, the way he kept talking about wanting to scrub things, I thought he was talking about Karen Bass's text messages there for a little bit. He just went on and on and on. You tried your best. You put in a yeoman's effort. That interview was embarrassing for him.
He didn't answer any of your questions, and he didn't answer any of your questions because he doesn't have any of the answers that California needs right now. You look at the crisis that this state is in right now, whether it's insurance, whether it is homelessness, whether it's the budget, whether it's making sure that we have the water to fight the fires that we know we're going to have to deal with in the future. And it's not just Javier Becerra, who came from the Biden administration, despite the fact that Nancy Pelosi didn't want him there. It's Katie Porter, who you had on this program, Kamala Harris, who only seem to care about federal issues. Well, if you care about federal issues, go run for Congress. Go do something in the federal government. Well, California has a lot of problems, and the last thing we need is another absentee landlord governor.
Your thoughts on Becerra and the race so far?
I know it's shocking, but I don't agree with him. Let me just say, I think Becerra is a very good candidate. I think Katie Porter is a very good candidate. Despite what John said, Kamala Harris has not yet announced that she's running for governor. Don't know if she will. But we have what we call a really good bench of candidates. Yeah. And usually elected officials or people who want to be elected officials don't talk about the specifics in the beginning. They talk about their values. They're introducing themselves to the public. Republicans do the same thing. And independents do the same thing. So they talk about their narrative, where they came from, what they care about, who they are, so people get to know them. But later, they'll get into the specifics. They have to. And don't be surprised if they start that way. He's got a great background, Becerra. I mean, having been a congressperson, you didn't even mention, he grew up in California. He was an attorney general in California. And now he hopes to be governor. And he's been a leader in the Democratic Party. And Katie Porter is an excellent candidate as well.
Do you have a favorite candidate?
I don't, because I don't endorse in primaries. But I can say, if I thought somebody was unqualified, I would certainly say that.
Do you want Kamala Harris to run?
I always think it's great to have a competition and to have choices. I like the voters to have choices.
What do you think of Kamala's calculus right now?
She doesn't want to go down as a loser. And right now, she is a loser. She lost to Donald Trump, so Donald Trump now has a second term. And she's looking for a consolation prize. Well, guess what? Being governor of California is not a year's supply of turtle wax. We don't need someone who's looking to build their resume. We need someone who has the answers to the problems that face California. And right now, we haven't seen it from any of these people.
Well, so, John, did you call Trump a loser when he lost the 2020 election? Did you say, oh, he's a big loser, don't run again? I don't think I heard that. Did I miss hearing that?
I call him a two-term president.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. And I know you're especially impressed by Matt Mahan, the mayor of San Jose. You think he might run?
Well, he's a Democrat who is a Democrat who's sane, which you don't see often in the state. And he is a guy who is tackling the homeless issue in San Jose head on. He was also one of the most vocal Democratic supporters of Proposition 36, which put California on track to finally be in a place where we don't have to buy shampoo behind bulletproof glass anymore. And because all of these other candidates are focusing on these issues that have nothing to do with the office that they're running for, what they're doing is they're creating a lane for someone, a Democrat in this case, Matt Mahan, to run on California subjects, on state issues where he has credibility. And unlike the rest of these buffoons, he has credibility on these issues. He's done it in San Jose, and I think he could be a very interesting candidate in that race.
John, while you're worried about shampoo and whether you get it up under the glass, outside of the glass, I don't know. There are people who have a lot of federal experience, which is important to bring to California. Case in point, the fires, the Pacific Palisades fires, the Alton fires. We need help from the federal government. We need it big time. And so it's important for people to know how to get that help from the federal government, especially now that Trump is in charge. There are a lot of other issues, too, that we need help on in California. So these Californians who are going to run for governor need to bring that background to California.
Well, that's great, but if they don't do something about the insurance crisis, we're not going to be able to buy insurance from any credible company.
Of course they will. That's really
They haven't.
Well, they haven't been elected governor yet.
Well, many of them are in elected office now. You have a lieutenant governor who's running. You have a former controller who's running. You have people who were leaders in the state legislature who are running.
Yes.
They could have done something
I
about
should have
it.
given credit to Elena, who is our lieutenant governor, who was also running.
Eleni Kounalakis. We could go on forever, but we don't want to end with disagreement. We want to bring people together, which we do here on The Issue Is. And John, I know you know this about Gloria, but Gloria's been with us since it's pretty much the beginning of this show. We've got some video of when she first came on the show. This was her first appearance. We danced together, and she said, the only way I will ever come back is if you dance with me. So we've been dancing together for years on this show. And so we got to keep that tradition going right now. So we've got your theme song, Laura Branigan's Gloria. Let's play it. Gloria, show us that move, and you get to dance with both me and John.
Oh, wow.
This is a moment.
This is the only threesome I'm ever involved in.
Well, we won't call you Katie Hill then.
Yeah. Come on, Gloria.
We've got one more hour to go on the John Phillips Show. Royal Oakes, the ABC News legal analyst, stops by, and Daniel Gus, reporter covering LA City Hall as well. It's the John Phillips Show